In the past, depictions of an anti-Christological character in film have usually been outlandish or poor in production value. So let's ask ourselves, what is a plausible scenario for such an Antichrist to appear today? Enter Netflix's Messiah. This show was produced by the same people who brought you the Bible miniseries on the History Channel that was lauded for its quality. But wait, this is Netflix we're talking about. Surely they are going to shove their political agenda down our throats. Well, rest assured, my reasonably cynical friend. Netflix usually waits until 2 or 3 seasons to bait and switch you with their propaganda. And we're on season 1. So let's dive in and see why I recommend Messiah. In an effort to not spoil the show, I will be vague about the plot. The show begins in a parallel timeline to our own. The last hoorah of the Islamic State has besieged Damascus. We follow 2 Muslim teenagers who are in a crowd of a man preaching deliverance from Daesh. That's what ISIS is called over there. And lo, a sandstorm comes and annihilates Daesh. Afterwards, the crowd follows this man, who they call Al-Masih. He leads them to the Israeli border, setting off an international controversy. This gets the attention of senior CIA officer Ava. And when Al-Masih crosses the Israeli border, it gets the attention of Mossad. Spoiler alert, Al-Masih is an escape artist and ends up in America, and the Jews are not happy about it. The American plot begins with a pastor of a small Protestant church in a town where no one seems to care. The financial struggles of the church threaten to put his family in financial ruin. His wife doesn't believe in him. His daughter is a rebellious hoe. In sharp contrast, Pastor Felix's father-in-law is the equivalent of Matt Crouch, which likely contributes to his wife's resentment of him. The intentionality of this dynamic is perfection. Al-Masih shows up and turns their lives around by rebuking a tornado. So now Al-Masih is in America and being tracked by the CIA, Mossad, and others. Ava is convinced that he is a con and is digging into the details of his past while trying to uncover his connections in the present. But this is a social media age, so droves of people, both hippies and religious types, flock to him, including Beth from The Walking Dead, trying to heal her daughter that she looks too young to have.
I get it now.
Shut up, Beth. Finding new faith, Felix becomes his spokesperson and parades him across the country, leading them to the swamp. Blowing up in the news and on social media, Al-Masih gains the ear of President Mitt Romney type, whose latter-day sainthood has him curious that this is the Messiah. But the Praetorian Guard Chief of Staff is having none of this, and goes all deep state on his ass. That's a bit of a rundown of the plot with no significant spoilers, and I want to talk more about the characters and the writing. Al-Masih is performing miracles, and this has all these people asking, is this a second coming? Or is this some Islamic eschatological character? But Al-Masih is just accepting of what people say he is. The scenes where he speaks to people are rather gripping. He's intuitive. He knows how to read people as if he had a dossier on their lives. This makes Mossad agent Avi lose his cool during an interrogation. He's also a fatalist, which had me thinking early on that he was the coming Mahdi or Isa in Islam. Al-Masih engages with Islam, Christianity, and Mormonism, all on a theological level. Ava is a stoic agent who's devoted her life to filling in her father's footsteps in the CIA. But her personal life is sad and endearing, and she compensates for it by devoting her entire life to the mission of the CIA. She's not a believer in Al-Masih, but she is a real believer in the CIA of all institutions. Avi is a Mossad agent that is estranged and cucked from his wife, which has further sent him into alcoholism. He doesn't believe in God, which has him immediately at odds with Al-Masih. He's brilliant at his job, but he's erratic. Rebecca is the daughter of Felix and has all the teenage angst. The writing of her character starts off kind of shaky and dated, but gets significantly stronger throughout the course of the season. It's noticeably absent in the show is a strong Christian presence. I can say with zero confidence that a single character in the show is actually saved. Sure, Felix is a pastor, but in the beginning, he wants to commit insurance fraud, and this is before wanting to advance his own brand without Messi. And then we have his Matt Crouch father-in-law, who is clearly milking old people for the prosperity gospel from his Hillsong church in the DC area. And much of the other characters are non-religious Jews. So we do not see a devout Christian navigate these waters. Instead, we only see followers and foes. What I appreciate about Messiah is that every scene matters. When a show or movie introduces a subplot, it either matters or is a waste of time. I'm talking about Last Jedi, of course. That being said, there are a number of subplots that Messiah introduces, and some of them are very climactic, like the story arc of the two Muslim teenagers. Others, like the story arc with the college student loosely connected to Ava, amounts to little more than eyes from which to see the chaos that ensues. Or Beth from The Walking Dead, who brings her cancer-ridden daughter to Al-Masih to get healed, having a relatively predictable plot given the binary outcome pre-established from the start. When we first meet Felix and his family, we're asking ourselves, why does this matter to the plot? And the show does a remarkable job answering that question. In the last episode, we are introduced to a boy living in the middle of nowhere, but this new character advances the plot in a new direction, unlike when Netflix contemporaries do this type of thing. Overall, Messiah is a high-quality exploration of what would happen if an Antichrist-like figure appeared. It's gripping, and the plot throws multiple twists that are subtly foreshadowed, avoiding predictability. It's a deeply unsettling journey into the brokenness of humanity and how susceptible we are to this. The ending is enigmatic but concludes several arcs. In the end, we do not know whether Al-Masih is the real Antichrist or something else. It's a cliffhanger after the resolution of multiple arcs instead of in the middle of a scene. Messiah is produced by Christians in a way that non-Christians would see as normal television. They go for the TVMA, whatever that means, because they are taking their story seriously. The acting was all around good as the characters were believable in their roles, and very compelling at times. It ultimately presents the believability of biblical eschatology in ways that Left Behind does not. The most unrealistic thing in this show is that CNN actually does journalism. Messiah gets people to confront their worldviews without presenting a preachy, dogmatic alternative. It most of all shows the brokenness of humanity, the desire for a savior, and no matter how much we shove Christianity out, there's still a void that needs to be filled. That's all I have for today on Christian Film Reviews.